Okay, this is a commentary on Gasiunas' Grapheme-color synesthesia as perception without awareness. In her paper, Gasiunas raises the interesting question of whether there can be perception without awareness. She considers and rejects two candidates to be cases of perception without awareness, namely inattentional blindness and blindsight. She then proposes that Grapheme-color synesthesia is a case of perception without awareness. In order to address the question of whether there can be cases without awareness, it would be helpful to look closer at the concepts of perception and awareness. Gasiunas doesn't offer a definition of perception, but takes it to be demonstrable in terms of the ability to discriminate among stimuli. I doubt a universal definition of perception that is applicable to non-humans in non-nomic situations is easy to come by. If, however, we restrict our cases to actual human subjects, a characterization of perception may be within reach. Perception is likely to be an intentional act. When conscious, it is likely accompanied by a representational phenomenal character. However, we cannot characterize perception in terms of awareness without begging the question. Another way to capture the intentionality of perception is in terms of what the act disposes the perceiving agent to do. I will here allow for a notion of perception that does not require veridicality. Let a sensory stimulus be an external stimulus or approximate stimulus that activates neurons in the occipital cortex. The concept of perception can then be cast out as follows. Phi is an instance of perception, just in case phi is a neural process in subject S, triggered by a sensory stimulus that disposes X to act in ways characteristic of neurotypical individuals exposed to an external stimulus under normal viewing conditions. Of course, we would ultimately need to specify what we mean by act in ways characteristic of neurotypical individuals exposed to an external stimulus under normal viewing conditions. I'll refrain from engaging in that tedious exercise here. Suffice it to say that the acts will involve reaching to and grasping objects, avoiding or crashing into objects, reacting in stimulus-relevant emotional ways, making stimulus-relevant perceptual reports, forming stimulus-relevant propositional attitudes, and so on. Awareness is more difficult to characterize than perception. It is quite plausible that the notion is fundamental and hence cannot be defined in terms of more primitive notions. In previous work, I have argued that awareness comes in degrees. While strongly conscious states will be vivid enough to be accessible to introspection and reporting, weakly conscious states may not be vivid enough to be accessible by executive processes. Like other degree concepts, however, awareness is best understood in terms of its definite instances, and these instances are accessible to introspection. Let's turn now to the candidates to be cases of perception without awareness. Though I believe cases of inattentional blindness are indeed cases of perception without awareness, I'm not going to make a case for that hypothesis here. The cases I want to address are those of blindsight and grapheme-color synesthesia. At the end of my commentary, I will briefly discuss a case not addressed by Gasiunas.